These are the 13 sleds that simply never break down. The most reliable machines the sport has ever produced. Not brochure claims. Real sleds that owners kept for 10, 15, sometimes over 20,000 miles. Sleds that worked for trappers. Sleds that survived rental fleets. Machines that came home after years of abuse and started again the next morning. Some of them had real flaws. A few needed updates the owners learned about fast. But the engines on this list built reputations that are almost impossible to fake. The closer we get to number 1, the harder the mileage numbers get to believe. These aren't ranked by horsepower or price or how they look in a showroom. They're ranked by one thing: the odds that the machine gets you home. 13 sleds, one question. Let's count them down. Number 13, the Fuji-powered Polaris Indy. Start here because this is the sled that made Polaris. The early Indy, the one running the Japanese-built Fuji 4, 4.0 and 4.88 fan-cooled twins from the late 80s and 90s, is what older riders mean when they say a sled just ran forever. There's almost nothing to it. No water pump, no heat exchangers. A simple air-cooled twin that sips maintenance and asks for plugs, bearings, and belts. One rider described 3 different 440 Sport Indies in his family that all ran perfectly for years. Engines never opened. Another kept a fan-cooled Indy going for over a decade on nothing but routine parts. Here's the honest part. These are slow by any modern standard, and not every later Polaris engine earned the same level of trust. Some of the liquid-cooled performance motors that followed were faster, but they never built quite the same reputation for simple, walk-away dependability. The old Fuji-powered Indy set the bar everything else gets measured against. Number 12, the Yamaha Bravo. From simple to almost absurdly simple. A tiny 250 cubic centimeters fan-cooled engine, a skinny track, and not much else. That's exactly why it's here. Ask a trapper in northern Canada what fires up when the temperature drops past what kills other sleds, and the Bravo comes up every time. The design is basic, the repairs are straightforward, and used parts machines are still out there when you need something. There's so little on this sled that there's almost nothing to fail. It won't haul a heavy load and it won't win anything. Top speed is a joke and the seat is an afterthought. But for decades, in the coldest corners of the snow belt, the Bravo was the machine that started when the expensive sleds sat frozen in the shed. That's a reputation you can't buy. You earn it one brutal morning at a time. Number 11, the Arctic Cat Bearcat, fan-cooled models. Now we shift to real work. The Bearcat built its name on Arctic Cat's fan-cooled utility twins. The sleds trappers and ice fishermen trust when there's a load to move and no dealer for 100 miles. The engine is stone simple. The chassis is overbuilt for the loads it carries. Nobody buys a Bearcat for speed, and that's exactly why it lasts. It was designed around the job, not the thrill. Interestingly, the fan-cooled utility platform is close enough to Yamaha's that riders have long noted the two share more than a little DNA in the utility segment, which tells you something about how proven the formula is. One thing longtime owners will tell you, it's heavy, and it feels every pound of it in tight terrain. Muscling one around off the trail is a workout, but when the job is getting you and your gear home through deep snow, boring and dependable wins. Number 10, the Ski-Doo Tundra. The Tundra earned its reputation in exactly the places where reliability matters most. Deep snow, remote trails, and long days far from help. It's not a machine people brag about. It's a machine people rely on. Light, narrow, built around proven fan-cooled power. This is the sled you take when the trailhead is a memory and cell service is a rumor. It trades horsepower for the simple confidence that it'll start and keep going. And its lightweight means that if you do get stuck, you can actually get it unstuck alone. Used Tundras hold their value for exactly that reason. The people who own them know what they've got, and they don't let go easily. Before we get into the high-mileage performance machines, old-school riders, settle this one for us. Bravo or Tundra? Which one would you trust farther from the nearest road? Drop it in the comments, and keep watching because the toughest workhorse on this list is still ahead. Number 9, the Polaris 600 Cleanfire. Time for some actual power. Polaris's 600 Cleanfire 2-stroke, found across Indy and switchback trail sleds, is the engine that rebuilt the brand's reputation with serious trail riders after some rougher years. Here's what matters. It delivers genuine 600 class performance without the fragility that sometimes comes with it. Riders lean on it hard, all day, season after season, and it fires up the next morning. It's the engine that quietly won a lot of skeptical Polaris owners back. The honest note for the experts watching, Polaris drivetrain and clutch setups have generated their share of shop time over the years, and that's a separate conversation from the engine itself. A reliable motor and a fully sorted sled aren't always the same machine. But the Cleanfire power plant earned its place. It's the sweet spot a lot of trail riders are actually chasing. Enough punch to keep things interesting, without the sinking feeling that you're one hard pull from a rebuild. Number 8, the original Yamaha Phaser. Some engines become legends. The original Phaser's fan-cooled twin is one of them. Riders talk about beating on these as teenagers, piling on 11,000 miles, and still not being able to kill the motor. Clean Phasers still hold strong resale today, almost unheard of for a machine this old. It was light, it was revvy, and it was over-engineered in the way Yamaha built things back then, when the company was still proving it belonged in the sport. It wasn't flawless. Like any fan-cooled sled, push it hard on a warm day with thin snow and heat becomes the enemy. The cooling only works as well as the air moving through it. Owners learn to respect that, but an engine that outlives multiple owners and still earns money on the used market decades later tells you everything about how it was built. Number 7, the Yamaha Sidewinder. Now it gets interesting. The Sidewinder runs a turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. Turbos are supposed to be the fragile part, the high-strung part, the thing that grenades at 15,000 miles and takes your wallet with it. Yet the Yamaha Triple has proven far tougher than most people expected. One owner reported 27,000 miles on a Sidewinder, still pulling strong. For a boosted high-output sled, that's genuinely rare, and this is a factory turbo machine outlasting naturally aspirated sleds half its power. But let's be honest, because the experts will be. The engine is legendary. The rest of the sled hasn't always matched it. Ask Sidewinder owners about clutching and drivetrain, and you'll get a longer conversation than the motor ever gives you. Belt life, clutch setup, and the driveline take more attention than the engine does. Respect the Triple. Watch the parts around it. That's the honest ownership picture, and it's exactly why this sled sits at 7 and not higher. Number 6. The Ski-Doo 600 Ace 4-stroke. The 600 ACE is not fast. Nobody buys it for speed. Ask rental operators why they keep buying them, and the answer is simple. Routine servicing, normal wear items, and very little engine drama. This is the Rotax 4-stroke that rewrote what low maintenance means on snow. One owner logged 25,000 kilometers with no engine trouble at all, just the usual bearings, sliders, a track, and oil changes. With fuel economy most 2-strokes struggle to match. It sips fuel the way a scooter does, and it does it while asking almost nothing of you in return. The trade-off is right there in the first sentence. This is a 60 horsepower engine, and it feels like it up top. It has strong low-end torque and it'll cruise all day, but it runs out of enthusiasm at higher speeds. That's the deal you're making. In exchange, you get a machine that treats breaking down as something that happens to other sleds. And a quick one before we get into the highest mileage machines. If you enjoy rankings built around real owner experience instead of brochure horsepower, subscribe. There are more forgotten engines and bulletproof sleds coming, and the next 3 are the ones people argue about. Number 5, the Yamaha Vector. This might be the most quietly respected sled in the sport. Mention a long-distance Yamaha 4-stroke to experienced trail riders, and the Vector is never far from the conversation. Bulletproof from headlight to taillight is a phrase that comes up without hesitation. At its core is Yamaha's Genesis Triple, a smooth 4-stroke with enough power to stay entertaining and enough durability to shrug off serious mileage. Riders keep these for years. One former owner described running several Apexes and a Vector back-to-back, all with heavy miles, and never once being left stranded by any of them. That's the kind of track record that turns a good sled into a trusted one. The trade-off is the one every Yamaha 4-stroke carries: weight. These are not light machines, and off-trail, in deep snow, you feel it in your shoulders by the end of the day. The engine and drivetrain outlast almost everything, but the chassis, bushings, and front end still wear like any hard-ridden sled. Buy one that's been maintained, and it'll return the favor for a long, long time. Number 4, the Ski-Doo 900 ACE 4-stroke. Yamaha doesn't get the 4-stroke crown alone. The Rotax 900 ACE follows the same low-maintenance philosophy as the 600 ACE, but uses a larger 3-cylinder layout with considerably more torque. And it's the pick for riders who want that dependability with real muscle behind it. The stories back it up. One rider, a lifelong Arctic cat guy, admitted his club president's 900 ACE had passed 15,000 kilometers and had never given a single problem. Hauling a loaded sleigh, driven hard, still flawless. Another put 7,000 miles on one with nothing but oil changes, a belt, and a few wear rods. It proved itself in everything from trail sleds to heavy touring and utility duty, often under the kind of steady hauling load that exposes a weak engine fast. Here's the honest catch, and it's the same one that follows every great 4-stroke. The engine rarely wears out first. Owners will tell you it'll outlast the rest of the sled around it, which means the clutching, the suspension, and the wear items are what you'll actually be maintaining. That's not a knock. That's what it looks like when the motor stops being the thing you worry about. Number 3, the Yamaha VK540. Here's the one the backcountry crowd will nod at. The VK540's basic formula stayed remarkably consistent for decades, and there's a reason it refused to die. It's the sled people actually depend on when depending on a sled isn't optional. Simple fan-cooled 540 cubic centimeters twin, a high-low gearbox for hauling and braking trail, and a manual pull start alongside the electric. Because a dead battery at 40 below shouldn't strand you, and Yamaha knew it. This is the machine trappers, trail groomers, and people living far from the nearest town actually put to work. One owner talked about breaking trail all weekend at camp and still having fuel in the tank to get home. Another moved 30 kilometers outside the nearest town and chose the VK54, specifically because a dealer told him it could work all day and still bring him back. Now the honest part, and it's not subtle. It is slow, thirsty, and completely uninterested in modern performance numbers. Being fan-cooled, it can overheat if you push it hard in warm weather. Nobody who buys one cares. That's not what it's for. This is transport where the alternative is walking, and for that job, almost nothing inspires more confidence. Number 2, the Yamaha Nitro. The Nitro stunned even its own fans with how far it would go. One longtime rider listed a whole stable of high-mileage Yamahas, including a Nitro that, by his account, had passed 31,000 miles with nothing done to the engine but oil and filter changes. He flatly said nobody riding other brands with him could come close. At its heart is Yamaha's Genesis 4-stroke, wrapped in an aggressive, sporty package that had no business lasting the way it did. It's a hard riding sled, the kind you'd expect to shake itself apart, and instead it just kept accumulating miles. But here's where the experts earn their respect, because the engine was rarely the problem. Ask longtime Nitro owners and they'll tell you the same two things every time. The factory relays were prone to failure. Many riders swapped them for solid-state units in 15 minutes and never looked back. And the oil filter sits in an exposed spot that practically begs for a skid plate to protect it from trail debris. Sort those two things early and the machine simply wouldn't wear out. That's the difference between a maker who read the spec sheet and one who's actually turned wrenches on the thing. The weaknesses are known, cheap, and fixable. And behind them is one of the toughest 4-strokes the sport has seen. Number 1, Ski-Doo's 600 class E-Tech engines. And based on the sheer volume of high-mileage owner reports, dealer experience, and machines still running after years of hard use, the number 1 spot goes to Ski-Doo's 600 class E-Tech. From the original 600 HO E-Tech that arrived in 2009 to the later 600R that replaced it in 2019, these middleweight 2-strokes built a reputation that's genuinely hard to overstate. The stories are almost hard to process. One dealer put it in plain terms, he'd see 50 grenaded 850s before a single failed 600R. Riders take these past 10,000 miles routinely, and a striking number past 20,000 kilometers without ever cracking the engine open. There's a documented long-term test where one original 600 E-Tech covered 40,000 kilometers over 4 seasons of genuinely hard riding. And here's what makes it credible rather than hype. That same owner was honest about what it took. Over those 40,000 kilometers, the sled went through 2 tracks, multiple suspension services, a pair of top-end refreshes, a couple of starters, and assorted small parts. Top-end service still matters on these engines. Nobody's claiming they're maintenance-free. But the fundamental bottom end kept delivering, ride after ride, quiet and astonishingly efficient, sipping oil and fuel in a way older two-strokes never managed. What makes it number 1 is that the 40,000 kilometer sled is not the only story. High mileage examples keep surfacing across both generations, and the mechanics who work on these for a living repeatedly describe them as unusually durable for a modern two-stroke. When the people who fix snowmobiles rarely see a particular engine on the bench, that's not marketing. That's the closest thing this sport has to proof. Reliability isn't luck. It's proven engineering and the miles to back it up. Every machine here earned its place the hard way, through owners who rode them into the ground and couldn't kill them, and who were honest about the one weak spot each one had along the way. Now tear this list apart. Which sled belongs at number 1, and which one had no business making the cut? Drop it below and subscribe for more snowmobile history, rankings, and the machines riders still swear by.